Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Um, I think I called it. I think I called it pretty well. I think this is a good way to go ahead. Um, yeah, good good show. Well done, Donald Trump. How do you like? This is the thing. Are you protecting a monstrous system that is straight away on every scale? um, then you may be called things by those people that are doing nothing. The American system, and it's quite apt that they have that Burning Man festival there. It is Burning Man, and there's kind of there's a thing that this Burning Man is some type of druid ritual. It's not at all. That's completely not what was going on. The American system, the United States system for the last 70 years is a human sacrifice to appease the sin of the whole. And so in a final twist, a cartoon which shaped a lot of, my comedic things as a young man, which I do seem funny. I'm like, why did a really low budget, really offensive, filled with swear words and horrific things cartoon, why was that projected to this small little schoolhouse that had been sitting there for 100 years and its students? So you're going to call Donald Trump, he's in bed with the devil. Who's the devil in this? And who isn't the devil? And this is hard because these people are brilliant writers, but the devil is like in the detail, I think, with this one. Donald Trump is negotiating the survival of the United States down to a level that is acceptable. The most responsible thing you could do in this period. I would say the least devilish behavior to fight your way to the top in order to renegotiate, take every single hit as the dying festival goers like attack you and with words to go another round. Do you want to go another round? I don't think so. The United States is the divorced father sitting at the pub after drinking. He's already 3/4 of the way down the Jack Daniels and he's demanding another drink when it's an hour past close. This is fucking done. This is fucking done. So South Park, if you've got how 20, 50 fucking episodes. Perfect. And the United States is going to need every bit of that self-deprecating humor. It already is that. So they're well prepared for it. And I suppose you could say, well, we had to get someone like Donald Trump there in order to do this because America wouldn't have put up with anyone else. Yeah. It's fucking crazy. Couple of good songs on my Facebook today that I liked. A few of them, like, I'm shocked. I can't really remember that. which I like. That's the coolest feeling. It's quite nice to wake up every day and be like, oh yeah, remember when you did this? And then to remember the circumstances I did it under. I have no doubts in anything going forward. I'm like, well, you wrote those pretty cool songs and you survived all this shit while you're fucking there. Like, you can pretty much do whatever. So that's good as well. Now, I was gonna I set myself a goal because I found myself yesterday, I believe. My probably like quite authentic self, and it's a bit weird. It's a bit shocking. It's it doesn't look like this. It doesn't look like a hoodie and like a cut, like, or a rock. I'm kind of, I have a different persona that I think I've been fighting off, and that's because this persona, it was the most attacked persona for my whole life, in an intentional, and it's like South Park is that. It's like South Park becoming popular, although, you know, that was nice when I was young. I think to go back when I'm 8 years old, not 8, I don't know, probably 10, 12 years old. Go back when I'm 12 years old and view South Park with my father's eyes, and holy shit. And this isn't like, South Park gets a fucking hall pass because it's like, it is that, and it's running on that, and it doesn't pretend it's not. It is that offensive thing, and it is good to see it turning on itself. And it has always been a negative critique against kind of small town America anyway. I think it's going to find itself in weird territory when it's like, well, where is South Park coming from? And who, like, I mean, it will just inevitably make fun of itself. And at the end of the day, it's two guys, and they're fucking hilarious, and that's their job. It's the end of the line of the life. In America, basically, you can boil it down to two things. There was an extreme right, you could say right-wing patriotic Americans who are going to fight and die to save what it is they believe is America. The problem is, I think, is really what they were trying to save in America is what the British Empire has done an amazing job at maintaining. And so they're just the hardworking people that ended up in the wrong place. Then there is the opposite side to that America, which is it's cool to not fucking care and to not take anything seriously. And that to and fro has just fucking just chainsawed and wood chippered the world because it doesn't work. That is such a fucking horrific, like, you can't enter the ring having we don't fucking care. But somehow they did. They entered every fucking ring, piping it from like, we don't fucking care. Like, it's not cool to fucking, to care about a place or its people or its culture. It's not cool to defend, you know, long-held traditions and things like that. It's just we're just fucking jiving. I know I'm being a fucking spastic, but we're just jiving into some type of utopian randomness, some random chaotic utopia. And I've spent equal time on both sides of this. But the moment you step forward, I think, to do anything, you have to be in some place where you're actually going, like, you're taking a stand on something. I think as well, something that is being neglected from the conversation. If you jump on right now, you jumping on and you're like, women's rights, they should have a right to abortion. It's like, there is a lot of people talking about that. So there is a lot of promotion for killing babies one way or another in the fucking world right now. You've got to find things that aren't, there may have been a time, right, where there's like, 1-2% of women that have had this hellish experience and they want to fucking abort. And like 40 years ago, the people doing it were fighting for them. Now it's just a fucking layup. It's just like, bah, it's just there. And it's being grabbed onto still with the same fervor that it was when it was being initially established. But there is hundreds of things that are being left because they're too difficult. And we've gotten to, and then because of this, it's not cool to fucking try. Anyone who attempts anything difficult is trying. Oh, look at that person trying to fix something. Fucking hell. And then it's like the more emboldened and impassioned they become about trying to do anything, then you push them into the right and you say, they're a fucking right-wing extremist. They're going to defend this thing with guns. Well, the problem is when another country, it's like we're like the bouncers of the British Empire. So while this father is fucking this divorced father is sitting there sculling back fucking Jack Daniels in the United States saloon, a crack team of fucking absolutely crazy Australian, like, legendary soldiers, think of like the Light Horse or something like that, is just getting ready to just stroll in and be like, righto. Not like, we don't need to do it like the fucking ICE agents. That was Donald Trump's only hammer that he had. He doesn't have this hammer. So we have to offer him this hammer. It's like, Donald, would you like us to sort it out? Because that way you can just kind of concentrate on what you are doing right. And we don't need to have a civil war that's projected out into the world again, because we're not going to do that. No matter how many good South Park episodes, no matter how many whatever, that's what we're going to do. And that's what it would be like. This will then become a South Park episode. It's like, oh, the Australians are here. Oh my God. Like, what do Australians look like in South Park? Because we were already doing what South Park is doing with our entire population, for real, not in cartoons. Our entire population was held in this fictitious victimhood, fucking poor, like whatever, and kind of also like extra, like whatever, to do this. We flipped our entire thing. We gave the people that usually would deserve all the accolades and these things nothing, and we made them fight a war. And so now we're really good at fighting wars. We've gotten really, we don't really even need guns, because guns are actually a really technical thing to use in a war now. So this is what's happening. And then there's a portion of California. Sounds like a paradigm. Yeah, probably does sound like a paradigm. Because California is the megaphone. And it was a one way. It was like they're sending, they're like, we're sending these signals out into space and rah, 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 rah. It's like, we're space cunts. And I'm sick of Elon Musk referring to Australia as Mars. Elon, mate, you've fucked it up. You fucked everything up. And it's all right. You're going to be all right because you've got a few things up your sleeve. But we've returned signal. And we're not extraterrestrials. We're the people that left the British Empire and maintained loyalty. And so now we're both looking at you calmly and saying, it's all right, mate. There's another fucking girl out there. You should just come back. You should come back to where, like, what happened is because you went on this reckless fucking rampage, you got your Harley Davidson and you just floored it across the fucking American West, and you've just been going backwards and forwards drinking Jack Daniels at that fucking saloon. And you know what I mean? Meanwhile, your fucking daughter's on fentanyl, your son's turning into a fucking drag queen, and it's not good. It's like, and Donald Trump knows that. And it's the hardest job and most responsible job. And it's just going to be, can you please remove the pentagram? It's disturbing this paradigm. All right. Okay. I'm going to be interactive. I won't remove it. I'll just... Is that better? You got it when you've only got an audience of 2. You've got to move and shake for what that audience is demanding. Is that better? Thank you muchly. You're welcome, Damo Gillies. Now I've got to get back on track. But this is good practice. Yeah, that's the hardest job to do. He's had to go back fully to his root, find out who because it's about, with the president, it's about him. Everyone's like, oh, he's narcissistic. Yeah, that's why he's there. It's not a job for a wallflower, because it's impossible for a wallflower to get there. You can't do that. It's like they built. It's basically just an impossible thing. You've got to remember it's an experiment. The United States is an experiment. And because it's an experiment to do with, these people were Freemasons, and I think idealistic Freemasons, and I think you've got to really understand the whole thing. It's like, well, the experiment kind of worked in some ways, I guess, because we have a very different king now than we did when America was settled. And I'll be like, this has made, disadvantaged me, but that's okay. I can swallow that because I'm still here and I wasn't killed. I don't know how anyone would have got the message if I was killed. But the experiment is returning home, basically, because that experiment was not created in the United States. And so that's what's happening. And so far, this is faring far better than say previous things. So it's like we have evolved, but you have to understand the whole fucking nature of history to be able to celebrate the achievement. If you don't understand that, then you're just lost. And now I guess the job will be to explain what the differences, and there's nothing wrong with like celebrating the ambitions of the leaders, of the founders of the United, because this is full circle. This is wonderful. Basically, all the founders of the United States wanted to do in their vision was they did want to elevate their own thing. They wanted to create something wonderful. They have, years after their death, that thing had some flaws in it that, with the help of the original structure, which was not based in the United States, did seem to realign and refind itself. And so the structure that is the most beautiful probably is the Masonic structure underneath that. And then there's just a lot of fear against that because it's misunderstood and misrepresented, or misrepresented. And people are afraid of things that they don't know, they don't understand. So this is as close. If I've made a thing say we're going to invade California, and Donald Trump's going to play God. He's in Scotland. Then there's no need to invade because we've already invaded. We've invaded in the same way that they invaded us, but down to a level that's so gentle that it there's like a lull. There should be a lull. There should be like a, oh God, we were just all fucking running on steam. We were just fucking way like revved to the tits. And that's just not sustainable. And that's probably the Nazi influence a little bit. The Nazi energy, there is a Nazi energy, and it is so fucking strange. It's just it's like a little bit fucking, it's like there, it does things, and then it's just a bit wild. The Nazi energy is basically the guy that's, he's almost like quite loyal, quite giving, like he's going to do lots of things for you, like, and like he's helpful, all these things. And then like right at this weird point where you're kind of getting, we're like, all right, we should sit down. He kind of is like, nah, let's fucking do this. And then kind of and you're like, hang on, no. And I really think that's just perhaps it's a human phenomenon. I think that's okay. Yeah. A human phenomenon that appears in certain situations. From the small down to the very large, it's apparent, and we just need to know where that is. It's basically greed. If you think of very high level greed that becomes authoritarian, Donald Trump is so far away from kind of, it's where it doesn't really hit that they're saying he's Saddam Hussein. Donald Trump hasn't gone full authoritarian. He's not at all. What America doesn't understand is that this perhaps very subtle exposure that Donald Trump paid perhaps teenage girls, maybe 15, 16, to have sex with him. For the unfortunate truth for like most of the world is, I think that most men will kind of be like, all right, were they paid very well? So yeah, they were paid very well. Okay. Okay then. Like because of the extended paradigm. If you get the OnlyFans paradigm, it's like there are women like exposing themselves radically for basically $20 for no guarantee. Like, and I think there's actually someone like, oh, it's digital, it's not in person. I'm like, yeah, but that's a slippery slope, because that's actually going more down like battery hen territory. And that is so horrific. And so it's like the devil is in the detail. And it's like, it's better the devil you know. It's like, okay, can we swallow the fact that really rich, really successful rich people are going to want things that other people don't or can't have? And there is, on every single ideological or legal line, there are professionals that will push that line for money, right? And this is what those women are. If you're 15 and 16, if you're a man in this current country right now, if you're a Queenslander, in fact, because they're trying to get this adult time for adult crime, if you're a 16-year-old and you get drunk and you hit somebody with your car, you may end up in jail for a very long time. And so what's going on here, where we're holding, it's majority of, in this Epstein case, it's majoritively young women. So there is no care about young men who are perhaps being down in the lowest levels, say in gang culture or something like that, being basically raped while drugged and then becoming like fucking delivery boy criminals. So it's like, we have to see the whole thing to be able to have the conversation. And I think, weirdly, if you think of the Epstein case as an intelligence operation, what we're missing is that if this type of honeypot blackmail operation was so successful at this high level to manipulate people, like Donald Trump, like the president, like Bill Gates, then that implies that there is a very strong moral footing within that class, because that was able to be used to persuade them down business or legal things, because they knew that they had paid a professional, two professionals, if you really want to get down to it, to push a line in the legal thing. And this, if you think of another legal case where, like, say you knew someone in the government that could put an extension on your fines or something, so you could have longer to pay fines. I know that's completely not in the same sphere or the same field, but we need to probably have a better discussion about what it is now to be a child, because otherwise what we're going to do is we're going to incentivize criminal activity from this young cohort in this kind of inflation, jobless economy. And obviously the female things that is going to be prostitution. And I think we're so far down that road now, especially, and this is why I basically want to declare like Snapchat and the smartphone paradigm as like, that is Epstein, fucking the Google version of Epstein. That's like if Epstein became as large as Google or Facebook or Apple. Because you can't police the whole thing, and it's destroyed. It's basically hypnotized the parents and then incentivized and promoted this type of thing. Even when we're talking about it on the news, it's just constantly a promotion. Unfortunately, that is a huge part of humans, is that we're susceptible to priming in all types of different ways. And that has been led from California. So California finds it's sitting there as that's the aircraft carrier. California really is the Chinese aircraft carrier. I guess, because you have to really dive in to understand what the identity of the United States is. Has the Californian vision harmed the United States? 100% yes. Almost irreparably, because that was it's like over promotion. And we'll see this now. It's like what we'll find now with, say, influencers that are getting called out in scams and different things like that. That's a microcosm of what the United States, led by with their media representation from California, and not all of it. And this is where it's really upsetting, because it's like they were also the wonderful storytellers, and they were also the theater, and that did, within music and movies, that did hit a pinnacle that was amazing. And so, but it's like, was that a machine, or was that authentic, natural growth? And I think the problem is that was a machine. That was an entity. That was the military industrial complex. And I think it boiled down to servitude and just a rampant competitivism, and then a sacrificial altar, rather than a lifelong craft, which I think is what the example is. And this is where, so if we're the British Empire and we look at the United States, you have taken what was, started in Greece with the thing of theatre or perform, like, who knows, it maybe started before Greece, but it's if we get to theatres and what most people would think when they think of that, and that's what film is, an extension of that. It's an extension of a few things. It's an extension of writing and an extension of photography and art and painting and things like that, mixed with theatre. So it's a lot. It holds a lot of things. That should be that's like a defacement of a cultural treasure. And this is where the structure of the United States was just not prepared to self-govern and self-police its destruction of those treasures, especially under the paradigm of it being constantly critical of its forebear. So what do I mean by that? I mean, it's used what should be held up as our highest treasure. And this is like, say, a lot of people like say the crown, right? The crown is actually a crown. It's actually like a piece of jewelry that you wear on your head. It belongs to, it actually belongs to the Commonwealth. And it is almost spiritually placed upon by the magnitude of that combined attention. It is elevated to its rightful position. How's Sandringham version? John Leslie Wright. I have laid a slab. It doesn't have it's complicated. Anyway, yeah, it's elevated to that position. And so the United States can't really do that. It does it like this. It does it like the president, because that's the thought. It's like, well, I want to have a go. I think the reality is like, you can't have a go. Will there be corgis? No, there won't be corgis. I might get a Labrador or a deerhound. Why do you get a little crown times 2? Anyway, it can't. Yeah, that's the thing. You can't do it. And the reason you can't do it is because it's generationally hard. And plus, you wouldn't. I'm a king. That's why. Cool. You wouldn't want to do it anyway. And so, but we're thinking of like this. There's a simplified version of this and a very optimistic utopian kind of vision. And I think that's all okay. Like, that's all understandable if it comes back and it still can maintain its identity, but you tap into what works. And then, so it's like, it's the arrangement between, and that's where it's quite good. If Trump's in Scotland, okay, Trump's in Scotland, he's making his way down to see the king. It's how this next thing goes that is really important. Because I suppose I'm in support now of that structure. I can see I can see Trump's in Scotland, which means America was without a president. And this is, because I think that's okay. What structure? Sandringham version 2. I mean the structure of, this is a conceptual structure that I'm talking about. So it's a structure of stability that lies underneath the visible structures of politics and things like that. It's all a bit too much of a paradigm for me. Okay. Yeah. You like that word, don't you? the fact that he's going there and going there under this attack with this unsteadiness is the most reassuring thing possible, because he wouldn't. If Donald Trump, if you're claiming, oh, he's a dictator, he wouldn't be going and visiting the king. I can tell you that much for sure. It's a perfect humility, because he didn't start the mess. He's done quite well on his own merits. He didn't need to do this. There is an out of control train that he has fought and almost died for to get a hold of, and he's bringing it back. And luckily, there are wonderful families there, historical families that didn't swallow that pill, the anti-British pill, that the revolutionary vigor that was kind of, celebrated. And if you go back to like older movies and things like that after World War II, it's like there was like World War II was the greatest moment, because we were like, yeah, we get it. Like, Americans are loud and they're doing this. We're free and you're all stuck there with your kid. Like, and I think the thing is, it's like, yeah, that's the guy that's going, I'm doing this. And now he's a divorced fucking father sitting in the saloon 3/4 away down the Jack Daniels. And that's okay. That doesn't mean Trump is that. It means America. If you get Uncle Sam is a divorced dad sitting at the pub 3/4 of the way down the Jack Daniels, and he has an Australian mate who's basically come in and said, listen, mate, you've shut yourself all down the fucking bar, and like you almost, these people have really had enough and it's time for you to go, but I've sorted it all out. I'll make sure that you fucking thing. Now, that's what in Australia, that's what we call like a mate. That's what a mate will do. So we're a mate of Uncle Sam, but Uncle Sam's a fuck up right now. He's an absolute fucking disgrace to the fucking Sam family. And so we're taking him on a fucking tour back to his roots. Uncle Sam's a bit like a fucking aging rock star. Like, he's got tight pants on with stars and stripes on them. He's got this fucking goofy hat. He's fucking just meth to the fucking gills all the time, and really becoming a nuisance. He's quite like the Jimmy Savile of the International Mascots Brigade. But Trump is like the great grandson of Uncle Sam, and he's just taking a tour for advice so he can re-establish himself and the future vision. And yeah, I think this story is going to start emerging, like the story of striving. It's the ultimate influencer story. It's like when you hear these influencers that are faking all their stuff like Lambert, it's like that's what America was. One big one that I won't mention, but that's the American influencer economy. And yeah, it's coming home. And I think golf's a good way. Like, this is like golf. This is way better. I'd actually like to be just playing golf. I can't wait till, because it was like they already did this. They did this 30 years ago. They're like, oh, we'll just do this business, and this is golf. It's not violent. But then the violence was still there. It was just outsourced. And so I've come from a different place. I haven't been playing golf and fucking, sitting on gold toilets and doing all these different things. I've been in the trench. I'm going to say it, in the fucking trenches. And so it comes with a different level. It's like if you de-elevate global things to golf from the winning position, and you come up against someone that has equal right to be in the room, that has been in the trenches of your negligence and incompetence, then the only position to do is to gracefully let them through. And that's what's happened. And that's okay, because I'm not in this for a short run. And I'm also not in it for anything public. This is me trying to reclaim my autonomy of my own family's assets and walk back the governmental overreach. And this is what was required. And this shows the dangers of globalization and global media distribution, because it basically it muddied the water so much that everyone was so confused as to where they were. The reason, to Damo Gills, if he ever gets back in, why I've chosen Sandringham is because it was purchased by King George VI from his brother King Edward VIII, who abdicated to marry an American. I did kind of claim that was maybe a mistake, but it's like that was the most wonderful thing that ever happened, was that abdication. I believe there was like a shadow reality, and that has found its way home. And so there is a unity now that I think was broken by that abdication, and that has found its way home again. Because I could be perceived as both those figures. And so I can tell that story the same way. I can say, well, listen, I can empathize with both those kings. And then you start to see the entire vision for that. And I think Sandringham is just it's a beautiful looking house. And it's what I've seen. Really, it all comes down to, like, I've been standing at the bottom of my property, and I was thinking about putting like townhouses at the front of it, because like the way that the town is set up, I think that would work better. And then this just appeared like that, and I'll do whatever it takes, and I can do it. And so I will. And this, like, not meaning to poke fun, but it's like, have you laid the slab yet? It's like, what? I don't care if I lay the fucking first brick when I'm on my 80th fucking birthday. It doesn't matter, because the plan is full. So it really doesn't. It's like I'm not in. It's not the image of that. It's not the image of corgis and fucking hoorah. That is what the false impression by the Americans has been, and we've just put up with it. We're like, oh yeah, that's what you think it is. Yeah, it's not that. Why you don't understand it? Because you left it, and you've left it with optimistic hopes and dreams, and you've promised the world a whole lot of things, and not one of it really has been real, and it has created absolute chaos. So it's and it doesn't need to be as vast and as grand as some of those estates. That was the way that fitted in the population size and the distribution of that time. And basically what I'm always saying is, like, that was able to be built, so anything is able to be built. And that is, and the American experiment has contributed to lessen some of the more horrific disparities that were apparent during those times, that I will add as well, that I never really benefited from in any way. So I think there's been an attempt by, because if you're talking about colonizers, that is a colonizing idea. And so the weight of
global dispossession of native people and slavery and every problem in the world has been placed on this one word, colonizer, by a group that is using the same exact tactics to recolonize an area that's only been colonized under a utopian vision of random perfection. That is false. We've been escaping random perfection. We don't. That's a shortcut. It's like, random, chaotic perfection will emerge. Yes, for the earth, that is true. For humans, no, that is not true. So it's like we don't have all this order and all these systems that were quite well maintained that may have had a few like dark corners in them. We don't replace that by random drug taking, fucking drinking, boozing, gambling, fucking pornography hell. And we need to find the appropriate scale of everyone to be able to build a structure that maintains themselves. And this will look like it needs to have a certain amount of land. And this is actually written in the original projection by the founding fathers of the United States anyway, because you can't, that they came from England where there wasn't enough land. They left there, but then they have the same problem that Australians had. There was an overabundance of land, and because they lost the connection to the structures, then they built something that was shit. That ended up attacking the world, and that's just it's not going to be received well, or it hasn't been received well, because it's been really disruptive, and it's like down to core tenets. You could follow parallel lines, families that went to America, families that came here, and then there has to be a level like even in Australia, the thing to find is the empathy with those from the United Kingdom, because it's like this thing. They're not all the king. And even they are, it's just very difficult to see. So there needs to be basically what I'm saying is like in Australia, if you live in a house, detached house, you've got your own house, you've got your own family, you've got your own job, you've got this like palace thing, you've got this kingdom, right? And you've got a mortgage. And it's fucking strange. This is what this cost of living is. It's like you don't know whether you would have been happier living in a guest house and working directly for another. You don't know. And that isn't slavery. It's not slavery. Or if it is, then this current system is also slavery. I think basically it boils down to there are certain people that are able to manage large groups of people beautifully. And what the government does is it thinks that it can do that by voluntary admission and by democratic process, and that is a flawed concept, because the one thing that it misses is inherited duties and inherited traditions and things like that. That is the largest thing. You can't broadcast that level of importance. Like, it will be the highest driver of dedication, not always success, because in my case, my dedication will kill me against this system that is encroaching into my territory. But so that's the level. Whereas you get to most people that are applying for a job, I've heard it from countless employers across my time working. You'll hire someone, you say, can you go and get this thing? It costs $10. I'm not using my own money to get that. This is the kind of place where I'm talking about. we've got ads here for the Labor Party saying right to disconnect on the fucking weekend. So we've got a part-time fucking shire worker mentality right up to the top of the government. It's lucky that we have a dedicated, population underneath that is keeping watch of all these things, because basically that system is just, it's a shire workers convention, all leaning on their shovels and fucking just filibustering the world while larger things are going down. Disappointing game. Yesterday, Dockers too good for West Coast. What were your thoughts, Shannon? Does Harley Reid have a fair shake from the umpires? I don't know. You tell me. You do a video and I'll watch it. If you say about the Dockers, I don't really follow footy, especially at the moment. I used to be able to keep a better grip on what was actually going on, but disappointing game yesterday. Dockers too good for West Coast. What were your thoughts, Shannon? Does Harley Reid get a fair shake from the umpires? Bloody umpires, eh? Good point, because that's basically what it's like. That's that point there about umpires. And so if we talk to the footy following cohort of Australians, it's like that's what our politicians have become, and everyone knows it. It's like, oh yeah, it is that. Yeah, we've got too many fucking umpires and not enough players. And it was inevitable because we were being leaned on by the United States constantly and shat on in our subconscious. You know what I mean? It's like, imagine a paradigm where I say, all right, so who's done West Coast? Dockers too good for West Coast, right? Yeah, do you know why that is? It's because I went and fucking ran a psychological campaign against all the West Coast players that made them think they were fucking shit in comparison, because they had loyalty to fucking some. Do you get what I mean? It's like there are more than one way to fucking skin a cat. And that's the game that the United States has been playing. They're playing a fucking game against us that is psychological, to destroy our intention, to destroy our heart and soul of our connection to what the thing is. Like if you play AFL and you don't know that it was created by the Australian cricket team, then you're susceptible to this type of manipulation. And in the, like, what I'm talking about, there's time, there's definitely time for things like football and stuff like that. But we need to remember what it is we're doing. I don't think it's a coincidence that we have an ex-chair of the AFL as our Governor General. I think the AFL as a whole is a very powerful and very Australian identity, if you think about it as its own thing. Maybe I should just talk about footy, and that would then everyone would settle down. They'd be like, oh yeah, he's right about the footy. It is pretty much not been attacked to. It still maintains a lot of its things. Very Victorian, like it comes from Victoria. And I think there's still that is still kind of stitched through its DNA. And that's why I think this Tasmanian thing is so interesting, because footy came from Victoria. It's fucking cold and wet there. It's cold and wet here today. And as Australia, we have a continent here that has all the kind of, it spans the entire climate regions. And the point of games like football being played is that it's like, yeah, you do go down to fucking Tassie and you do play in the cold and you do play in the fucking wet. And the Tasmanians have the same thing when they go and play, and it might be warm or the ground might be fucking dead hard or whatever. And that was the case with everything. That was the case with racehorses, with like, we've always been in that. So the AFL saying, I'll put a roof on, it's like, fuck off. Put a fucking fire hose on the MCG or whatever. Like, get the fuck out of the business of running the stadium. Tasmania will present a fucking stadium that represents Tasmania. the AFL can shove it up its fucking ass because Tasmania's been there longer than the fucking AFL has, basically. And the Australians fucking lost the Australian mentality is you might have a big group or a company or doing this shit. If you get one real fucking Australian comes in there and tells it how it fucking is, everyone shuts the fuck up and gets fucking things done. And that's what it should be. It's like a state should not have to go to debt, considering it's been there longer than most of the fucking other states, to play the game that was invented by the Australian cricket team. When we have a former Australian fucking captain of the cricket team as a Tasmanian. Go and fuck yourselves. Get the fuck out of this international, Americanized, fucking corporatized fucking sport and get back to the fucking game. And that's what everyone fucking thinks. Everyone that played 30, 40 years ago knows that. They know that's what is the brand of Australian football. They know it's the fucking hardest fucking game out there. The most raw, authentic game. Don't ruin it with this fucking corporate bullshit. Stand together now and say, like, you know what I mean? Start going, well, yeah, bring the fucking Americans here and have an AFL game against them and fucking hammer their fucking heads into the fucking ground. Watch the fucking pansies fucking run around without the pads, whatever the fuck it is. You know, whatever talk we need to do to get this over the line. This is what Australia is, what America pretends to be. Australians are what Hollywood pretends that Americans are, because Americans used to be that. There are parallel fucking trajectories of families in Australia that are families here and families in the United States. They're the families in the United States that have got the fucking guns ready to push back against this fucking communist, socialist fucking bullshit war. And that is what's going to rise up from the South. We don't need to take New York. We don't need to take Washington or anything like that. We need to send a clear message that Australia is going to lean gently on California with the help of the UK. We're going to call up to the brothers in arms in the southern states of the United States, tying back to our historical bonds on the island of Great Britain. And we're going to just say that's enough. And there's a way that will be responded to, because these people are just provocateurs. But they are provocateurs to a system that does end up, manifesting what they're spurting from their mouths. And this is like back to fucking Keir Starmer as the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Your system that you are claiming these threats on the top, that is being manifest on the streets. And I think the more technical, the more provocative, the more you attack a president, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, it's kind of funny, but it's not funny, because you're not understanding the job that he's actually doing. You're not understanding the mess you're in. And it's embarrassing. And I like South Park. Okay. But it's like, it's just it's not the time. And I know that even that sounds funny. It's like, it's always the time to joke. It's like, the majority of these negotiations, of this operation is underground, is very dark and quiet and very bad. And so if you find yourself in the cohort that is protected by ignorance in this current paradigm, and then you are still punching down, like still doing this thing, it's like, what is fucking going on there? Where is the there's no end to that. It's like the constant critic, and they are just critics. But there has to be, like if you're criticizing the president in his attempt to like stabilize after an event this large, you'd better not be plugged into one of these machines. Like you'd better not be on the treadmill with that cable back to the fucking gulag or back to the concentration camp. And I think that was the mastery of say the Nazi mindset, is that the Germans didn't know, but they were all connected to it. And it's like, you don't know, but you're connected to it. And the problem with somewhere like Israel is like, Israel isn't the global Jewish community. It's the landing ground for those most frightened. So it's the lion in the fucking cage being poked constantly. And then you've got to go, why is it in the cage? That's always the question. So who the fuck put it in the cage? Because it is a cage. Israel is a cage itself. So when you call Gaza an open-air prison, then we're viewing the largest ever prison experiment. And this goes on in prisons anyway. So within a prison, there is the general population of prisoners. There are prisoners in the prison that are held prisoner by the prisoners. Okay, so this is what we're seeing here. And then that's the paradigm that's been presented about Israel. Oh, Israel's doing this. Who put them in the fucking cage? And this is where it's like, I know who put them in the cage. We put them in the cage. Why? And then how is that extending to the global community 80, 90 years on? And that at that point, I'll probably have to leave it because that's opened up to fucking. I feel like the menu at the Ginger Hotel is overpriced, and the chef cooks my meat for too long. Seamus Finnegan. I wish I knew who you were. Seamus Finnegan. Ginger Hotel is overpriced, and the chef. I haven't been there since the new chef's there. I have a feeling I know who you are, but maybe I don't. It's so hard. Yeah, I don't know what the new chef's like. It's complicated. It's overpriced, but it's the only place in town, so they kind of get that. Why do I dislike Irish? I don't dislike Irish people. I am Irish. My children are half Irish. I dislike the Irish Republican Army operating in Australia, to make a point there, because it misunderstands the complexity of the whole thing. It's not, I love Irish people. I've had an amazing time with Irish people. I think there's a massive problem when people self-identify as, I don't think the IRA are in Australia. They're barely in the UK now. It's because they're here. There is too much of a link because of a victimhood. Basically, this whole thing at the moment is going based on victimization, which is I think any type of conflict where you're there, if you link together a bunch of victims and you maintain that victim mentality in an offensive way, you're not a victim anymore because you're now a giant group. And then it's where they're putting a lot of pressure based on that. And I think they're not concentrating enough on the fundamentals of what it is. I think the mentality of, and this could be subjective on them. So this could have been put onto Irish people. And so then I'm kind of victim shaming because it's complicated. But basically, there needs to be, I think there's too much concentration on the victimhood of Irish people by Irish people and the kind of excuses on their behavior based on their Irishness. I think it's kind of like a get out of jail free card, and it upsets me because I think that they are wonderful people, just kind of always stuck in that. There's so many commonalities. That whole region used to be kind of governed in a far different way by, and there was a lot more flow through. And so I think the Irish identity is actually a false identity because it's so prevalent. So you can almost, if you were behaving badly, you can almost fall into your Irishness. And then if you don't have the other regions within your background, you're a little bit stuck there because it's like crackheads, they're fucking, or alcoholics, they want to stay in that group because it perpetuates the thing. And that's really upsetting. And that's kind of like a mistake to do with nationalism. I think Australia has some similarities with Ireland as well, and Irish people. But thank you for your question, because that's a whole lot more than I'm getting from some other Irish people, if you get what I mean. So that's, and it's insane. Like my ancestors were exactly as Irish as I am English. I think even more so. It's a complicated story that I think can be oversimplified for people. And I'm probably guilty of that as well. So I hope that's answered your question. I like answering the questions. This is fun. Seamus Finnegan. So you from Gin? And if so, have I met you before in person? Oh, he's gone. That's weird as well. That weirds me out. That doesn't matter. It's there if you need it, Seamus. Thanks for your question. Now there's no one here. This is probably what I'm going to have to do. Okay. Well, this is positive. Oh, someone's there again. And look, with the comment, I understand these things. I understand the tonality of Australian men. I guess the one thing is that, like, I'm poking my head pretty far up above a parapet here, and so I expect like a little bit of respect and a little bit of thing, and so it's. But I seem to be getting that, and as long as I get that, that's fine. But I'm also not. I'm not. I want to be questioned, and I want. Basically, my intention for the whole place, and this to put in one sentence, is like this. What I noticed during the pandemic is that these digital tools were falsely claiming to be elevating our communication, and they were actually doing the opposite. So communication is all I'm really ever trying to incentivize or to enact or initiate. And I think that it's a good thing to get in the habit of. And if I've got to lead by example of that, then I will do it. And I have done that. And then I'm very happy now with this being the current way forward, because I want people to interact. And I really respect anyone who has the confidence to do that respectfully, because that's like you're entering the room. So anyone that enters the room, I'm so pleased to have them there. And I look forward to that being. It's that we all need to find some confidence. If I could almost be a coach, and it's like I'm trying to coach the Australian people on how to sort out this myriad of problems from this melting pot experiment, so that we can reunify under what it is to be Australian, that is not simplified down to just the American one of we're not the fucking we're not the colonizer fucking UK monarchy. It's like, hang on, no, that's not the story. That's you've brought too much of your story from the other place that you had to leave. So if you had to leave somewhere else and come here, and it's tricky because you want to connect with people that are like-minded, so you will connect with that people here, but it's like just go deeper. And then really on it, it's like everyone should be judged on their merit, not on their story. So if you're even if you were the most whatever fucking drop kick fucking, if you're maintaining a household or teaching kids or like learning a skill or something, like you're already so far above the fold, and that's what you should stake your claim on and enter any conversation with. You don't have to enter with the weight of your people's troubles, because you are already, and this may be because of your actions or because of your father's actions or his father's actions, you have already left that place to begin something new. And so you should stake your claim on what you are actually doing and go from there. All right. No more questions. No one's there. That seems good. Thank you to Seamus, John, Damo for your input. I hope you're all having a good day. If you're in the West, I hope you're staying dry out of this fucking rain. And like and subscribe. I've never said that, but thank you for tuning in to what I guess is just a daily fucking radio show, which I'm so happy about. That's such a great thing. I would love to be able to play songs as well, which I probably can. I think that's the real... Nah. I'm cool with not playing. You can play your own songs. So occasionally I might mention a song or something like that. I think this is what it is. There's a marketplace for radio. This is what I'm doing. I can guarantee you throughout the process of me doing this you will find out some things that you didn't know. But on the overall, I feel such a positive kind of energy and direction. I think we're coming up to some kind of really, really foundational changes, and we have a positive balance and a positive stability emerging, to finally step out of this. We're not quite there yet, but we're getting pretty close. And that feels good. So thank you for tuning in. Have a great day.